how to build an easy mob farm in Minecraft. These are resources you will need for this farm. Okay, so the first step to this mob farm is of course to find yourself somewhere to build it. Now I would highly recommend you build it out in the ocean and quite high up in the sky, simply because this one increases spawn rates in the farm by quite a lot. So anyways, if you want to build it out in the ocean, simply get yourself up to the ocean floor, and now I'm going to build myself up roughly 120 blocks up in the air. Now you don't need to go this high, you can even just go roughly 50 blocks up in the air, but I would recommend you go around 100 to 120, simply because it will make the farm a lot better. So anyways, I'm going to build myself up 120 blocks, and yeah. Okay, so once you build yourself up in the air, what you want to do now is build yourself 2 blocks going forward, then place a double chest in front of those 2 blocks, then place some hoppers going into those chests, and then head behind these chests and place more hoppers going into those first hoppers. Then what you can do is destroy these original blocks you placed, expand this by 1 more going upwards, and then simply build yourself a wall of blocks going all around these hoppers, pretty much like this. And of course, with only the wall around the hoppers, you should have something that looks like this, but you can also just fill in the rest of these blocks, just make this look a bit nicer. So anyways, once we have done this, what we need to do now is get started on the Trident killer. So to do that, we're going to place ourselves a piston pretty much behind the block that's in front of the top right hopper. Then we're going to head to the right here, and while looking at the piston while standing in the corner right here, we're going to place ourselves an observer. Another little redstone eye and the arrow should be facing away from the piston. Then we're going to stand pretty much in front of the piston and then place an observer while looking at the first observer we placed. Another little redstone eye and the arrow should be facing the same way this piston does. So what we're going to do now is look at this piston, rotate right, then place a piston right here, then just continue the same step, place yourself an observer right here, one right here, piston, observer, observer, piston, observer, and then one final observer. So now you should have something that looks like this. So what you want to do now is place yourself a lever on top of one of these pistons, flick it off, and then they should go around once before it stops. Then you want to flick it on and they should go around constantly. And if that is happening, then you've done this correctly. So what we can do now is turn this off temporarily. And then what we have to do now is throw ourselves a trident on top of one of these pistons. Now I have a trident right here, so I'm just going to throw it on top of there. But before you throw the trident on top of one of the pistons, I would highly recommend you grab an anvil and put impaling 5 on the trident. Now this is not necessary, but if you have the opportunity to it, I would recommend you do it. So anyways, once we've done that, we will now need to build ourselves a 20 block high wall going all around this Trident killer. So what I'm going to do is place myself blocks right here, and then glass in front right here, and then I'm going to expand this wall 19 more blocks going up in the air. Now you can also fill in the corners like this if you want, but it's not necessary, but if you want to, you can, and it will look a bit nicer. But anyways, if you've done what I've done so far, pretty much just expand this wall by 19 more going upwards. And also I added glass in front of here, but that's simply because I like to watch the mobs die, but you don't need to do that if you don't want to. But anyways, then just expand this wall going upwards by 19, and yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so once you have built this wall, what you need to do now is head on top of here, and then what you will have to do is build yourself 7 blocks going out from all the blocks we have on top of here. Now to briefly say, if you have blocks in the corners right there, do not build 7 out from those, only build 7 blocks out from these blocks right here pretty much. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then do this on all of the sides, of course. Alright, so once you've done this, you will now need to build yourself a 2 block high wall going all around this platform, or what we have built so far. So what you will have to do is place a block in one of these corners, build a block going out on a block, then destroy the block, and then build yourself a wall going all around the pillar things we built going outwards. Alright, so once you've done this, expand this wall to be 2 blocks tall. Alright, so once we've done this, what we will have to do now is place yourself out 2 water sources at the end right here in each of these pillars, and this water should kind of run towards the end of this, but it should not flow into the Trident killer. So yeah, pretty much like that. So anyways, what we will have to do now is head on top of these walls we built going outwards, and then at the same layer where you placed the water, build yourself blocks going outwards until you link up with the other side. Place the blocks right here, then link up over here, pretty much like this, and then fill in this square with blocks. And then of course do the same on the other side, so head over here and then do the same, pretty much like that. Alright, so once you've done that, you should have something that looks like this, and these will pretty much be the spawning platforms. So what you want to do now is head to the corners right here, and then simply build yourself a 2 block high wall going all around this farm. And then once you build this wall 1 block high, expand it to be 2 blocks high, and boom, once you've done this, what we have to do now is jump inside this room, and then what we will have to do is obviously find ourselves a way to transport the mobs from the platforms into the water. So to do that, we're going to use an old trick related to trapdoors. So what you will have to do is place yourself trapdoors on the upper part of these blocks right here, and make sure they're on the upper part, then do the same on all of the other sides. And to briefly say, we're doing this because mobs will think that open trapdoors are closed. This means that even though the trapdoors are closed like this, mobs will think they are like this, which means that they will try to walk to another platform, but since these are open, they will fall into the water and then be pushed into the Trident killer, which is pretty much how we're going to transport the mobs from the platforms into, well, the Trident killer. Alright, so once we have done this, we really just have one more main step to do, and that is build ourselves a big roof on top of this platform. So to do that, simply build yourself a, well, yeah, pretty much a roof roof covering this whole platform to make it dark, and yeah. And also make sure these are solid blocks and not slabs, and this is of course because on Bedrock Edition light will shine through slabs, so make sure you use solid full block. Alright, so now I'm almost done, and boom, now I'm done with the roof. So what you have to do now is of course make sure you spawn proof the roof. So to do that, simply place yourself some torches or some kind of light source on top of here, and this is of course to make sure mobs do not spawn on top of the roof and rather spawn inside the farm. So now if you break yourself into the farm, it should be completely dark in here, which it is, and that is perfect. So what we can do now is get down here. Be careful as a creeper has spawned down here. I'm just going to push him out.
Bye, have a great time.
And then I'm going to place myself some torches down here, and then to turn on the farm to start it, you can simply flick this lever. But before you do that, I would highly recommend you flick it while holding a looting 3 sword. And this is of course because if you turn on the Trident killer while holding a sword that has looting on it, the looting effect will be put on top of the Trident. This means that if I were to use this farm and get, for example, 1 stack of gunpowder after X amount of time, I would have a chance of getting up at 2 to 3 stacks instead, which is of course very good. So anyways, now that the farm is on, all we need to do now is just stand AFK and the farm will start producing mobs. Now to briefly say, if mobs are not spawning while you're standing right here, I would recommend you go a little bit under the farm, roughly 10-15 blocks, to stand AFK there instead. So what you can do is simply go down maybe 10 blocks, 10-15 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then simply stand AFK on top of here. And this is of course due to the mob spawning rates, but they will not be able to spawn in, I think, a 24 block radius all around you, if I remember correctly, which means that if you stand on top of here, mobs might not be able to spawn inside the farm, but if you go down here, they will. And I'm pretty sure some mobs have respawned, as you can see, because of the XP, and we can stand next to the piston and collect it. And if you look into the chest, we have already gotten some mob drops. And what you can do now is pretty much just stand AFK down here, and you will be able to get all the mob drops you will ever need. But anyways, what we can do now is simply head back up to the farm, and as you can see, we have gotten even more resources. So this is just from standing AFK for a little minute, and yeah, some more are dying. And yeah, that just shows how good this mob farm is, and it's very simple because you can use pretty much any resource to build this. So yeah, anyways, that is how you build a pretty easy and cheap mob farm in Minecraft. So anyways, that is it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions about how this works or anything like that, feel free to leave them down below and I'll try to answer your questions as quickly as possible. So anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.